Unsolicited genius.
All right,
Love
so
it. Love it.
we talk sports on Unsolicited Genius. We talk entertainment. What I wanted to offer up for conversations with Carlton when we look at the world of entertainment, music, film. We talk about books. Akela, you're an author, so we definitely gonna bring you back around to talk us through your journey and what you've gifted the world with. But for me, in the last few weeks, if not couple of months, I have seen in the space of entertainment, musicians, actors, their relationships on display. We talked about Will Smith and Jada, this trial with Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, Kanye and Kim, more recently, Michael B. Jordan and Lori Harvey and their breakup. And even not romantic relationships, but this fallout with DL and Monique. It's relationships, it's people. And although not everybody in this discussion is Black per se, Johnny Depp, Amber Heard, it took me to a space where when I do look at Will and Jada, when I do look at what the internet is saying about Lori and Michael B. Jordan, and even Kanye, there's this conversation in the culture, in our culture, in society, about the relationship between Black men and Black women. And it is not as healthy as it could be. It is not as healthy as our ancestors would prefer it to be. But what I'll open up our discussion for is, why is that, and what can we do about
Yeah. I will kick it off and just say that I think the first thing, what can we do about it, is show up in our own friendships, relationships, partnerships every day. And I think, so many people escape to these conversations of the Lori Harvey and Jada and all these people. And my ethic is, and this is even with my friends, I don't lay down or wake up with these people. So I can't tell you, what their day-to-day struggles are. But what I can tell you is I'm always going to be a fan and an advocate for Black love, and I'm always going to be a fan and advocate for love. So to me, it's like we always want a victim and a villain, and it's like we polarize these situations, and we forget, like, and this goes way back to kind of Rihanna Chris Brown situation. We forget that there's a capacity of what's happening that is very similar to our everyday lives, but because these people are public figures, we we don't give them that same space or that same healing process or whatever.
it?
And specific example, Lori and Michael B. Jordan. Like, I empathize with both people, and I don't know all of, what, like I said, I don't lay down or wake up with them. But what I can say as a woman is I was 25. If everything that they say is accurate, I was 25. I was dating somebody who thought everybody else in the world thought we were the perfect couple. That person wanted to propose. I said no, because who I was at 25 as a woman was not who I wanted to be. And so people just want to say, like, how many people she's been with and all this. Like, why is that important? And why is that, why do we vilify her for making a choice if all things that were shared are true, and she walked away from the relationship because she wasn't ready for marriage? Why is that such a bad thing? Like, why are we so upset with her for that? Like, I honestly think it's a very strong thing to do, to be with somebody in a relationship that everybody thinks that you should be with and that you even enjoy, that you're having a good time with, but still make a decision for yourself. And does that mean she'll be lonely for the rest of her life? Hey, I'm still single, so I see why people come to that deduction. But at the same time, who I am today and who I was at 25, and talking to friends who did, go into marriage based off of what everybody else thought they should do, they're unhappy, divorced, and not all the times is that the case. Some people can push through. But my thing is, stop reducing it to a victim and a villain. Let's realize that these are real people that are going through real life experiences that, if we're honest with ourselves, we all, have seen, experienced, or been a part of.
So before you respond, Akela, I posed a question in response to you, Natalie, but Akela, feel free to answer as well. Do you think our observation of Hollywood, whether music, or film, wherever, celebrity, in the space of social media, Twitter, all that stuff, etc., we do a lot more observation of what they do, how they do. And I think you're spot on with our insistence for there to be a villain and for there to be a hero in all things, inclusive of relationships. Do you think in the space of, Black men relating to Black women, that same dynamic, that somebody has to be the villain, somebody has to be a hero, has infiltrated how we relate to each other and kind of morphs, metaphors, disrupts our perspectives and perceptions? And so in that constant fight, hero villain, because that's a constant battle, that ultimately we manifest that in how we relate, how we're relating to each other?
I do believe that there's a part of that exists as far as social media influencing it. But I also believe that, as a culture, we are looking for reasons to validate the things that we either do or don't want. So it's like, I have men all the time, tell me like, oh, y'all in these streets, or y'all out here, yeah, y'all. And it's like, you're deducing me because you don't want to make the investment to get to know me and understand me, but you out here when I'm out here. So
right, I saw you
do,
yesterday in the same street.
so I do think, like, they'll be like, oh, you for the streets or whatever. So I do think, but I don't think it's any different than the Cosby Show, right? I think the Cosby Show gave a certain influence of like, hey, this is what a good wife looks like. And I'm a big fan of the Cosby Show. I love the Cosby Show, whatever. But I think social media, and there's always going to be something. It's going to be a magazine. It's going to be, back in the day, a newspaper or a one-line radio. There's always going to be something that influences people. But at the end of the day, I think that what truly impacts our relationships is our pride and our commitment to this mantra that we have to be a certain thing for each other or with each other. When we don't do that in non black relationships, like it's not that same energy. If you're dating outside of your ethnicity, I find that men don't have the same deal breakers when they're dating outside of their ethnicity as they do when. So it's like, I think social media plays a factor, but no more than radio, TV, print.
Okay,
Radio.
images that we see. Okay, what are your thoughts, Akela?
I would say we only, if Black love or love is what it's supposed to be in a relationship, I'm giving myself to you, you're giving yourself to me, we winning together. You don't really see that hero villain until it doesn't work anymore, right? Because when it doesn't work anymore, now it was him, it was her, he did this, I did, that's when you see it. But when it's all cohesive and it's working, to me, as an outsider looking into that, it's like, well, that's them over there. We got our own thing. We trying to do this, and this. We're achieving this level. Let them worry about that. But the minute that seams start to break through that heart that we have, then we become the hero and villain, because somebody's got to be wrong. Somebody got to tell the story of why we broke up.
Yeah.
I think with the Lori Harvey in Michael B. Jordan situation, let me tell you, I'm not gonna lie, I have to look stuff up all the time. I kept seeing Lori Harvey's name in my timeline on Facebook. I'm like, what's going on? I don't know.
Happening?
I don't care. I do not care. But the thing about it is, what Natalie touched on, I think two things. One, we can sit and say, well, if it was me, I would have married him, because we want to be in that situation. So that's why we can say that all day long. If Michael B. Jordan wanted to marry me, okay, boo. What we gonna do? How we gonna do? Oh, fine. But she's 25. Age aside, I get it. Because when Natalie just brought that forward, what was I doing when I was 25? Dating somebody that was 10 years older than me that had no business dating. Right. So if you would have proposed, I don't know what I would have done. I probably would have walked away too. Right.
Yeah.
Like, that's just not where we're supposed to be. But I think a lot of us put ourselves in the people's situation and where they are, and then we make a decision based on what we think we would have done.
Well, that's sort of an American thing, partially. For sure, in a lot of examples we could list, it happens in the Black culture, in the Black community. But again, it's a narrative, and it could be a distraction. It may not be true. It appears, it seems that there's a lot of dialogue about how we're relating to each other. And then we see things like, Lori, for me, Michael B. and Lori's breakup, I don't know that I knew he was 35. I knew he was younger than me. So they were a young couple that broke up. Now, again, to have it explained or expressed, he's 35, she's 25, that's 10 years. That's kind of your max. You go 10 up, 10 down. And even then, you might want to, there's reasons to be closer in to mean or the median. So to me, they just broke up. But what made me bring it here to this discussion was the vitriol that in a lot of instances was directed at her for simply making the decision that was in her best interest for her well-being as it exists today. But then contrast the young couple breaking up, and then, the shenanigans ensue. But then you have Will and Jada, who been together 20 plus years, have kids together, family together, have in a lot of ways been, well, I don't know if they've been considered Black royalty the way Beyonce and Jay-Z might be considered, but they're on the hierarchy of the echelon of couples that seemingly have this gel. But the entanglement is revealed. Will on the Red Table Talk looking crazy, specific about the entanglement, like physically looking distraught and emotional. They talk then about healing and getting better, and then he go on stage and slap his boy. So where's the love? Where is, is that hero villain? Is Jada the instigator? Is she the support? Is she the cause? Does she even love him? I think outside looking in, there's these questions about them. And to everything you all said, I agree and I support, because at minimum, they are the celebrities, they also are human. And so they're having, unfortunately, or even if you can argue, they chose to showcase to us the happenings in their relationship. So it's cause for digestion where we see it. But my question becomes is, why? Why, with all we know and learned about love, support, being there for each other, supporting each other, creating accountability, why does it seem to be this thing for us that we can't figure that stuff out? In the work world, they talk about the soft skills. It's like we're not able to bring that emotion, that soft skill into the relationships with each other.
Is that because we have outside influences that shape how we respond to certain things.
For example,
Whereas, you know, if I'm a woman, well, I am a woman talking to my friends about a certain situation, like, oh, you know, as somebody I'm dating, he never calls me. He only texts me. Well, girl, you know, he got somebody, you know what I mean?
Right,
Is
Mhm.
right.
is it because of those outside influences?
I hear you. And I think that
shadowing how we see things?
you raise an excellent point, because those influences in the way you describe, you're talking about, you know, you and your friends. I have me and I have my friend. So then if there, you know, shout out to Laura Hill, some miseducation happening within those friendly personal relationships, same sex or not same sex, but with your friends,
Mhm.
how does understanding evolution, education, nah, that's not a true statement, girl. You know, he texts, he didn't call, it don't necessarily mean what you're saying. Where does that come from, or would that even help?
I was gonna say, I think sometimes we all respond to things with our own rose-colored glasses of how
Mhm.
we see things, how things have happened to us, and that's going to be the response that I give you about this situation that you come to me with.
Mhm.
I will try my best to be objective, right? But I will also taint it to what my experience has been. And if my experience has not been great, or if I'm that friend that is like, well, he probably didn't call you because he was doing X, Y, Z. That's why he sent the text, because that's happened to me in the past. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? I think that's how we, because I think that's how we give advice based on some of the things that have happened to us. I think it's very hard for a person to be completely objective in a situation,
Yeah.
Okay.
unless you're just being in a situation where you're listening, right? And the person is like, I just need to vent. I don't need advice. I just want somebody to listen to me. I think it's totally different. I think it's hard to be objective in a situation, especially when it comes to relationships.
Okay.
Mhm. I personally think culturally we have had this manifestation of what perfection should look like, right? Like, so you take it back to the Coretta Martin generation where, you know, in those times it was like, yo, y'all got to be a perfect couple, y'all representing for the people, you need to look, you know, clean on the outside, right? Whatever happens behind the scenes, you rock with it, you figure it out. And culturally, we've had these, you know, expectations, so to speak, of what a good woman looks like and what a good man looks like. And I think it's been more important in our culture for political reasons in the advancement of our culture, right? So there's that factor. So now we're in this generation of, you know, women who have been very free with themselves, who've been, you know, we transitioned from the Corettas to, you know, to this kind of independent woman mantra, and now sexually expressive woman mantra, right? And so I think, unfortunately, that is intimidating for some men, whether it's black or white, unfortunately. And so it's just ironic to me that, you know, the Lori Harveys, the Jada Pickett's, the Megan Thee Stallions, the whoever, if we don't operate within those constraints of like, hey, this person, this black man is to be desired, and if he wants you, you should want him, and or the other side of the fence where you have like people who are like, okay, as a woman, you're supposed to not be sexually expressive, you're supposed to be at home, you're supposed to, you know, do all of these things. And so I think it creates a level of chaos within our communication
That's a good
style,
word.
because
That's a good
you
word.
know, there's this inability to connect and accept each other for who
Mhm.
we
Another
are,
good word.
because, you know, it's sad to me, because I see I have so many single male friends and so many single female friends that are genuinely amazing people, but because of some of the things that Akela mentioned, these social constraints or social confines or whatever you want to call it, it's like, oh, I can't be seen with this person who, you know, is a player or doesn't call people back or da 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 da. And it's like, at some point, you have to believe in something bigger than your whatever. Like even the Jada Pinkett Will Smith thing to me, like the first thing I did was pray for them. I thought it was a crazy situation, whatever, whatever. But at the same time, I'm like, yo, I've seen that. I've seen that in my family where somebody, an uncle comes to the barbecue and knocks somebody else out because of whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Don't do it,
and
Unc. Oh,
don't
he
do it,
did it.
don't
He
do
did
it. He did it. He did it. And everybody, somebody, most of the time, somebody ended up in jail at the end of it. But I've seen it. I've been there, and I've heard the whispers like, "Oh, he's so dumb in love with her," or
Yeah,
da, 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 da.
yeah.
Miss
It's
me with all that.
human. It's
I,
human. It's
I
not
think
perfect.
the sad thing to me is that we are so I don't want to call it tortured, but whatever towards Black women that we're so quick to say, oh, it's Jada's fault. She should have, whatever. Now, I think as a woman, you probably should have pulled his coattail or said, sit down or something like that. But the real issue with Jada for people is that she was the one caught in the affair with August Alsina. Like for them, that makes him a chump. Like, okay, what
That
if it was
makes
him?
Will a chump.
Exactly. So
Right.
that's where people are like, that's where people are
Oh,
more
I hear you.
offended.
I hear you. So he had earned chump status for still being with her after the entanglement occurred. We found out about it after the fact. So either way, from that point forward, he was chump.
He
Which
was,
was
but we
telling
didn't.
all over his face during the red table talk, which is what I
Yeah,
think
that hurt
we
my
all
feelings a little
saw.
bit. That was
Right.
That was.
Yeah.
But it's love. It's love. It's life.
yeah,
It
no,
happens. Is is
no.
is 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 it's sad because when it was Jordan and Juanita, or when it was Kobe and Vanessa, it was we love the fact that they stuck by their man through cheating, right?
Mm.
But when it's Will and Jada,
It's a different story.
now we mad. Like now we
She
now.
okay. I follow you. I track. So, for me, there's in the Black women, Black man relationships, there's a lot of commentary about what Black men need, being underloved and this, that, and the other. And I think when it comes to how we're perceived in society, we are a threat, whether I'm in a business suit or a hoodie. And so there is a battle that occurs for me, for Black men on a daily basis, where in a lot of instances, it is, the question is raised, will you even make it home, right? So I think from where I sit, I've never in any stage of my life been at a loss for love, whether it was family, friends, I never struggled with that. Now, to go in the workspace, I have been in those environments where people clearly don't want me there. And so that ensues its own set of challenges and struggles, that to have a partner, a spouse, a girlfriend or somebody, that I too need some TLC, even if it's, for me, I'll run a bath, soap, meditate, play some, binaural sounds, and zone out for 15 minutes or 2 hours and 15 minutes. That is it. And so to allow me that space based on what I'm dealing with is also giving me the love that I want and the love that I need.
Right.
But, as I think about all the points that you all have made, and the images and the perspectives, and the fact that all these people, whether it be Will, Lori, Uncle at the barbecue, are simply having human experiences, and it is offering and allowing them the space to have that. Celebrities, fortunately, unfortunately, we see their stuff, but at the end of the day, Kanye is a man who struggled with some mental health challenges, and he's in some space when it comes to his wife, his ex-wife, and his children. Who amongst us hasn't seen that, right?
Exactly.
And so what I think is the challenge and the opportunity is, as a culture, we've had trauma, and that trauma permeated through the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the early 2000s. I forget, they call it the tens, the 2010s. It carried forward and revealed itself in different ways that you all have articulated, from Coretta Scott to Megan Thee Stallion and Cardi B. And so in our relating, whether it be, I think, with our friends talking that trash, or the person, not I say trash, but our friends offering their perspective and opinions, or in that relationship that we're in, is recognizing that we don't have all the answers, that part of how we got here is predicated on unresolved trauma. And so to truly thrive, we got to work through that stuff. We got to talk through that stuff. We got to allow ourselves to evolve through that stuff and find ways not to just continue to perpetuate the same problems, the same undealt with trauma. Somebody has to break the cycle. Y'all don't watch Game of Thrones, but if somebody got to break the wheel, you know. And what I find is we just find new reasons to keep doing the same things in the same ways, whether it's Canvas Samuels or you know, one of these relationships that we've already talked about. We end up just dealing with the same trauma and finding new ways to recycle it.
And I think we focus on the negative. There's so many healthy, beautiful relationships out there.
We don't see
Samuel
that are not
Jackson
on
with it.
social media. We
Yeah.
don't see.
True that.
I follow so many couples on TikTok, and I'm like, yo, that's excellence. That's love. That's beautiful. You know what I'm saying? But those are not the people that are highlighted, right? And I will say, I feel like there is a re-emergence of Black love, and there is a you know, from what I'm seeing, I feel like the 20s to 30-year-olds, like, they are really invested in Black love, right? And they're really thugging it out with each other regardless. And I think, to your point, Carlton, that protection is different for them than it is for us. Like, I think our generation has so much trauma in that, you know, for me as a woman, like, I have fought hard to protect brothers, like, and I'm in the corporate space where I'm like, nope, you're not gonna do that to him. He's gonna get paid this, he's gonna da. And I have seen, and I have been spit on, you know, obviously not physically, but you know what I'm saying? Like, and it doesn't change my love for the Black man, but it does gives me a little bit of, like, angst, you know what I'm saying? Like, it does make it harder for me to trust that I can be my full and whole self with you without, you know, or you know what, sometimes it is hard for me to sacrifice for you because I helped you pass that test in college. I helped you, whatever. And then I saw you leave, you know, or take somebody else to this, which we weren't even dating, but take somebody else to this awards and give them all the credit and look at me like I never existed. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
So it's just this dichotomy that exists. And I think my generation, although we continue to say that, you know, we're gonna fight and push through for love, we also are the generation with the most deal breakers because of that trauma, right? It's like, nah, you gotta call me back.
We have a list of deal breakers. It is a lengthy list.
But does that come from past trauma, right? Or is it something, you know, some unspoken rule, like, oh, he better call me, he better answer the phone when I call, you know what I mean? Or is that from something else that
it's all of the above? I think it's all of the above, and it's, you know, the talk categories: love, fear, you know, that it's a lot of fear emotions in how we relate. And I think the apprehensions, that Natalie articulated, having been, you know, quote unquote, so to speak, you know, burned or betrayed, you know, that carries forward. And Natalie's not, but how many other folks that they've been, you know, hurt that time, and they carry that energy forward to that other relationship, to their friendships. Girl, he did me like this, so he gonna do you like that. Man, you know how women be, bro. If they this and they that, I'm telling you, this what it is. And so
Yeah.
there's the, and that's, it's the trauma, not my experience, because I didn't go through it, but what my older brother, uncle, his next door neighbor, grandfather experience carried forth, and that
Right.
thing found its way to my ear in a space where I was vulnerable and able to be influenced by it, whether that was me as a teenager or in the midst of, you know, relationship drama that I may be going with. At that point of vulnerability, the advice I get feels a little better, but it's still touted in anger and hurt. It may not be total victimhood. Anger is a higher emotional vibration than victim, but than apathy, but it's still not love energy being infused to me to figure out how to infuse that into my relationship.
And I read this thing one time where it said, like, a lot of times it's easy for people to date outside of their culture because they don't connect you with the trauma. So it goes back to like what you said, like if I'm a Black woman and I'm dating a Black man and he misses a dinner appointment, or somebody sends me a picture of him out to dinner with the business associate, because I have these history of men in my life who have been cheaters or who have, you know, disregarded vows or anything, like I automatically associate that. Now, if it's a white man and you send me a picture of him, I'm like, oh, he's on a business. Like, yeah, my automatic assumption, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, I just thought that was so powerful, because it was like, and the same for men, like they can't be as vulnerable with us because they feel this responsibility to be strong because of their relationships with their mothers or their aunts, having to protect their sisters or whatever. And so they're irritated with us because even though we provide them a space to be vulnerable in, they can't even relate. I've literally had dudes like so comfortable and then they just jump up, you know, like, cause it's like at a certain point they realize, oh, yo, you're a Black woman. You could use this against me at any time, you know? It's like, wait, what just happened? We was chilling. Like, what? I didn't do nothing.
Where are you going?
Right. Like, okay. So it's unfortunate. And I believe a lot of that is rooted in the fact that we don't have true identity in our culture today. And so there's all this insecurity that kind of, you know, like in our culture today, the identity of a white man is typically going to be like they're successful, they have this, right?
Right.
And a white woman is going to be this. But for a Black woman or a Black man, there's no foundational identity that is automatically associated outside of strong Black woman and defeated Black man. So it's like there's this insecurity that comes with that.
It's a lot.
I
It's a
never
lot.
really thought about it like that.
It's a lot.
That's something I've never thought about it like that, but you make a good point.
Well, what I would offer is, you know, it seems in our time together. So first and foremost, thank you all. This has been a pleasure. In each segment, whether it's the headline news, the sports, and now, you know, entertainment, but we're really talking about relationships. A recurring theme is mindset, right? And where each individual exists in the range of mind, mental health, and then in turn, how they move around and exist with it. I think you're right, Natalie. As I scroll the gram, the gram mostly, but even Facebook is mostly friends and
Mhm.
family. And so, you know, my people back in Miami, I see a whole lot of love occurring with each other,
Mhm.
for each other. I see the evolution of so many people. I got one dude,
Mhm.
I love following him on his posts because we grew up together. I don't know, I remember elementary or not, but middle school for sure. And we couldn't
Mhm.
stand each other. We, you know, we was always on the edge of a fight, and
Wow.
life, you know, took us along our different paths. And I'm me, and when, you know, to come back around full circle and kind of learn more and see him and his experience, he's all love. I mean, he dropped love
Yeah.
bombs, and, you know, with his kids, his wife. I mean, it's brilliant, it's beautiful. And so
Yes.
that's out there. But I think
Mhm.
you're right, it's not what we see. I do believe that these are one of those things that fall into a potential category, or fall into the category of distraction, because it's not totally true. You know, Black men, Black women don't hate each other. Black men, Black women do love each other. And full disclosure, for me, as much as I love Black love, I love love. So Black,
Right.
white, Hispanic, you know, love who you love, date who you date. If
Right.
you all are nourishing each other and giving each other what the other wants and needs, do what you do. I don't care what you look like.
Release those
At
Mhm.
the
endorphins.
same time, I do
Yes.
celebrate, you know, my culture, where I come from is Black
Yeah.
love that brought me here, so to speak. My parents, they was on their own little misadventures, but needless to say, it's available to us if we want to go get it. And I
Yeah.
think what we don't see play itself out enough is people who struggle and find their way back to each other. It's,
Mhm.
you know, it's, I quit, I'm done, I gave it the one time, too many deal breakers, it's it. But I think
Yeah.
love ebbs and flows. In a relationship where we start is not who we start as, is not who we're going to finish as. There's an evolution. You know, as a man, they
Mhm.
talk about loving different versions of the woman as she evolves in a
Yeah.
relationship. The man I was 10 years ago is not the man I am today, nor will it be the man that I am 10 years from now. And so to love each other is to love all of that. And if you don't know how to
Mhm.
do it because of trauma, which is all real, the
Mhm.
opportunity exists in the space of counseling, therapy, coaching to work through all of that. And guess it's
Yes.
affordable. And so whether you have
Right.
insurance, don't have
Yeah.
insurance, a lot of us have employee assistant programs on our jobs that we
Mhm.
don't take advantage of. Talk to somebody. And if you think you ain't
Yeah.
got nothing wrong and nothing to talk about, talk to them anyway. Let them tell you, look, you good.
Absolutely.
You know, when I went
Yeah.
through, you know, my journey and I decided to seek out therapy, she says, you know, you're a nice dude. You just gotta accept a couple facts. If it wasn't true
Right.
then, it's not gonna be true today. You deal with that, you'll
Mhm.
be all right. And so
Yeah.
at least she validated that I hadn't gone cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. There was opportunity, but
Right.
I wasn't crazy. And so there's value in that. And so
Absolutely.
all that to say, I love y'all. I can't wait till we do something else again.
Yes.
Love each other, love yourselves. This has been Conversations with Carlton, an Unsolicited Genius production. And as always, good morning, good afternoon, good night, and we will catch you next time.
Subscribe if it's something to be subscribed to, and follow. That's how we grow our reach. It's how we grow our brand.
Unsolicited genius.